I want you to picture first the scene in Washington, D.C. at the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit. There he sat, Paul Biya, President of Cameroon, flown across oceans, seated among the highest dignitaries of Africa and the world. You can almost see it, the grandeur of the hall, the international press corps, the flags of nations fluttering, the red carpet welcome, the smiling protocol officers guiding each head of state into their proper place. Among that assembly, Biya sat, perhaps physically present, yet by all means or indications mentally absent, unaware. Now fast forward to today in Yaoundé. The capital's Grand Assembly Hall is full. Diplomats from foreign embassies sitting in neat rows. International observers at the edge of the room. CRTV crews monopolizing their camera angles and live beaming the event to the rest of the world. The judges of the judiciary are present, the Constitutional Council too, and of course the Supreme Court. Parliamentarians, senators, that's what I call them. They were all there in their regalia, ready to witness a constitutional ritual. The legal process is observed, the ceremony proceeding with the solemnity of law. And then comes the moment. The judge invites Paul Biya to rise, to stand to take the oath that underpins his so-called renewed mandate. People hold their breath. The judge calls, please rise, rise. But Biya does not rise. His microphone is open. The silence of the room deepens. An aide leans forward to him, murmuring urgently into his ear. Obvious confusion. Biya asks the aide, what is going on? What is going on? The aide mumbles insistently and visibly scrambling for the president's understanding. He says, the judge wants you to stand. The judge wants you to stand. And finally, Biya rises. Then comes the next instruction and the next scene. Raise your right hand, the judge commands, but nothing. Biya stands there, uncomprehending. The aide literally raises the president's hand for him. The cameras of the state broadcast CRTV do what they always do the best. They quickly cut away from the awkward sequence, replacing live footage with tighter shots of the judges and the crowds, the diplomats and the flags. But the audio, the whispering and echoing instructions is still on the recording. The world watching sees and hears the breakdown of the ritual, a mess of the ritual. But what does this mean? What does it mean? What does this scene tell us? It screams loudly that Paul Biya is no longer the one running that country. If he cannot even follow the stage directions of his own inauguration, how can he possibly be the architect of election fraud and election rigging, the architect of arrest and imprisonment of his own citizens, the captain of an economic crisis, the pilot of a nation in turmoil? How can he be? How can a man who sat bewildered in Washington, D.C. among world leaders, unable to muster the presence of mind to know where he was 4 years later, suddenly become the mastermind of every act of governance, of repression, of crisis management, and authority in his own country. How is that possible? And yet, the narrative persists. Paul Biya orders, Biya commands, Biya is responsible, they tell us. Really? For those in the diaspora and the sidewalks of Yaoundé, such theater is not mere embarrassment. It goes to the heart of legitimacy, Paul Biya's legitimacy. When the chief protagonist in the ritual of power cannot even perform his cues, the audience, the people turn skeptical. They watch and they think, if this man is not in control of his own body and his own inauguration, how can he reign with clarity, with purpose and with vision? The optical illusion of power crumbles. The signature on the ballot papers, the parade of uniforms, the pledges all become hollow if the man at the center is effectively sluggish. The delay, the confusion, the aide raising his hand, it is theater. Yes, it is. But it is theater of an empty throne. Cameroonians must not forget, the election itself was contested. Official results said Biya won 53.6% of the vote. Opponents cried foul. They declared the process a constitutional coup d'etat. For many ordinary Cameroonians, this ceremony today underlines their suspicions. If the man is so detached from the proceeding of his own swearing in, is he the one who directed the campaign, the rigging, the fraud and shape policy, issue orders to security forces, manage the economy? Or is he now simply a figurehead, a waxwork, while the real decisions are made elsewhere by others behind the curtain? Ask this question. Who is ordering when the president asks what is going on? Who is managing when the inauguration requires an aide to lift the president's arm? Who directs when the man himself is on mute in the proceedings? Then ask, can a government built on the illusion of one man's command stand when that man cannot marshal even the simplest constitutional moment? Is that possible? How does the chain of command hold up when the center is hollow? If not Biya, then who? That person must be somewhere. The spectacle today in Yaoundé is telling. The hall may be full of diplomats and international observers. The cameras may frame the pomp, the gaiety, but the substance is missing. The ritual fulfills a legal requirement, yes, but the real moment, the president taking the oath with clarity, authority, didn't happen. And when the real moment fails, what remains is legitimacy in question. What we glean from here is that the theater of power does not equal power. The crowd, the uniforms, the chants, the official pronouncements, they are smokes and mirrors. And when behind the mirror the actor cannot act, the mirror cracks. The mirror cracks. For the Cameroonian people listening to the sound of my voice, for the world watching too, today's performance was not simply awkward, it was revealing. It revealed a man disconnected, a regime brittled, an authority no longer embodied in flesh and blood as it once was before. It revealed that the real strings are pulled from elsewhere. by younger functionaries, by power blocks behind the scenes, by agents who have long been the engine of decisions, now attributed to a dying Paul Biya, an ignorant Paul Biya. And now that Issa Chiroma Bakare is poised to take the reins of the opposition and potentially the government, the moment has come. He must expose the mask once he gets in charge. Who are the people behind this facade of one ruler? Who are the men and women whose fingerprints are on the prison walls, the road potholes in that country, the empty clinics, the unanswered pleas of the youth? For when the face in front is visibly absent, the hands behind the curtain must be reviewed. Today's theater is why many Cameroonians do not believe Biya won the election. They see his inauguration not as a validation, but as a symbolic surrender of command. How can you take seriously the proclamation of victory when the face at the podium cannot uphold his own arm? When the highest moment of the highest office is executed by proxy, because that is what happened. That gap between ceremony and substance, between the man and the machination, is the crack. It is the crack in the regime's legitimacy. So I leave you with this, ladies and gentlemen, you watching, listening, and wondering. If Biya is not the captain, is he the passenger? If he cannot enact the oath, who is the one holding the steering wheel? If the man cannot tell an aide what is going on, what is going on? Who in the corridors whispers, "Go"? Who did to him? The real power lies not in the office, but in the unseen presence behind the spectacle. And until that truth is faced, no amount of official trumpeting will restore the authority of the one who sat unmoved today in his own inauguration.